how that relationship between the Hebrew people and God worked itself out year by year, and all the transitions that they had to overcome. Then, of course, the story introduces Jesus. Now, in introducing the story of Jesus, it becomes another kind of a added ingredient to the whole story, that Jesus here. In the traditional story, of course, we know so well that Jesus, that somehow Adam and Eve offended God and broke the relationship between humanity and God. So you've got God up there in the sky, I call it the sky God, and down here you have people on planet Earth. Now the people on planet Earth are no longer in the friendship of God. That's what they thought. And there came a word, and it's called atonement. At one meant that people were no longer at one meant with God, and there was need for atonement. There was a need for a bloody sacrifice in order to placate an angry God, and that God would forgive the human race, and the human race could once more be in a relationship with God. And in the traditional story, they said that the gates of heaven were now open, and people could go to heaven. Well, okay, that's what they thought. We have a little different way of looking at it today, but that's the way they looked at it, this atonement thing. And I suppose that's the biggest thing that I might criticize about the traditional story, is the notion of atonement. The notion that a loving, compassionate, all-loving God would demand the blood sacrifice of his Son in order to forgive humanity. I remember talking with a bunch of students one day, grade 12, and one of the students said to me, "Father," he said, "you want to teach me that God sent his Son down here on earth to die on a cross in order to placate him." Well, I said, that's the story. He says, well, I can't hold to it. I can't believe it. Because if I believe that, it means God is abusing his Son. That God is an abuser. And he says, I cannot believe in that kind of a God. And I said to him very simply, well, my son, I don't believe in it either. But if you ever want to meet with me and chat, I could share with you my thoughts about the word God and my ideas about God, which certainly do not include atonement, does not include an offended God who's angry, does not include a God who's cut himself off, and not a male God. And I said, no, that's not the God I hold. And I said very clearly, if you ever want to come and talk about it, then I am most receptive. Unfortunately, he was busy, grade 12, and probably didn't have the time to come and talk about that to any length of time. So what I'm going to be doing then, beginning in September, I'm going to put a weekly teaching on YouTube, just like I did last spring. And I'm going to say to you that I hope I can interest you. Now, I know there's a lot of adults out there. I've had so many young adults tell me, I can't hold to the traditional story, doesn't hold me, doesn't grasp my heart. I need something else. Now, it seems to me that since we're all spiritual people, that we need to do some research, do some learning, some study, to hear something new that hopefully will ring with you as being credible, sensible, and life-giving. Credible, makes sense, and is life-giving. And that's what I'm offering through this series. I'm going to offer to you a new story that has its beginning not with Jesus, not with Moses, but all the way back 14 billion years, and come forward from there. And in order to do this, of course, I'm picking some of the story, traditional story, but I'm also picking and choosing what the scientists are telling us, because that's really important. And that's one of the reasons why the traditional story became kind of obsolete, because it was formulated before science had so much to offer by way of the new cosmology, the whole idea of physics, the whole idea of the story of the universe. You see, they didn't know it. At Vatican Council II, as smart and well-educated as the theologians were, they didn't have this knowledge. They simply didn't have it. And as a result, it did not get included. It simply didn't get included. And that's why what I will be giving you is including the scientific story. And where do we discover the divine in the science, in the universe story, even in nature itself? Where do we find, where do we experience, where do we come to know? That's the big thing. And so that's what I will be bringing up to you and presenting it. Now, what I want from your part, I don't want you to be lazy. If I'm going to do all this work, I want you to come on, collaborate with me. And at the end of every teaching, there's a place for comments. So I want you to make a comment that can be good, bad, or indifferent, but at least a comment. Am I hitting the mark or am I not? Does what I say make sense or does it not? Does it raise your consciousness or does it not? Does it cause you to rethink and reimagine the whole notion of God? Because I'll certainly be talking about incarnation, that we are God become human, and we're part of God's body, creation. And as a result of that, we are interconnected and interrelated to all. All is sacred, all is holy, and what an impact that can make on our treatment of the environment. We can see the way that in the last, probably since the agricultural revolution, or even later the industrial revolution, how humanity has torn apart nature. Nature has been disrupted. Rivers have been changed their course. We see where toxic sprays were used to kill weeds. We see where toxins have been filtered into our water, polluted our air, pollution of noise. There's so many ways in which the earth has been injured, hurt. And the earth needs healing. And one of the surest way we know earth needs healing, scientists tell us that if you have sick people, you've got a sick earth. If you want healthy people, you need a healthy earth, a healthy earth. And so while we're spending millions of dollars for a cure for cancer, and that's good, but probably one of the bigger things we could do also would be to change and make the earth back to health. And if we had a healthy earth, maybe a lot of diseases would no longer be afflicting humanity. I don't know, but I think it's possible, because when a scientist tells me that it's a sick earth producing sick people, then the obvious answer is to cure the earth, to make the earth healthy again, healthy air to breathe, healthy food to eat, healthy water to drink, health. And maybe that would make a big difference in how we were able to live our life fully. And of course, we know that St. Irenaeus said those famous words, which I love. The glory of God is a person fully alive. Fully alive. Fully alive in our humanity, of what it means to be a woman or a man. Fully alive in our humanity. And the raising of consciousness, so that we don't live with a consciousness of a child or a young person, but with raised consciousness, so that we're truly wholly an adult, contributing to the health and well-being of the body of God, which is all of creation. So tune in to YouTube in September, and as I said, I want you to not only listen, but I want you to comment. Write back to me. We can have a conversation, because I will answer you if you report to me. Okay? So we have that deal? Let's hear you. Yes, Father. Yes, Father.